back here. Second hour main event. Don't forget, Uncle Lou's in here on Thursdays, but also live on YouTube, folks. TME Media AZ. Share it with your friends, you Uncle Lou fans out there. Get that promoting that up as well. You can watch you live now, Lou, for the last couple months here, but I'm going to start promoting it out there. But before we go anywhere on this, how you doing, Lou?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me once again this week. We're in the portion of the sports season where the UFC and really my FaceTime is going to go from Charlton Heston to Pee Wee Herman, because tonight is the Hall of Fame game, and when the NFL starts, that means football starts, and so the rush of population will be all towards the football now.
So less VSIN appearances is what you're telling us?
No, I'll have my normal Friday morning with Ross. But yes, because they won't be desperate to need some time. And they what is there? Well, there's baseball and UFC and some golf. So it's been a great run. It's also great to be able to get all my ducks in a row for NFL, because I'm totally organized, totally prepared, have everything done that I want to have done at this time of year. And so I go into tonight's game with the ambition of watching a couple series, and I'll really just be looking to see what the Cardinal reaction is to the new coach.
Okay, yeah, because that's what Dale talked. I jokingly threw it to Dale and was like, break down the game, But he said on that he wants to see, reaction of the coach, fluidity out there. There's not a lot of, how the plays coming to the offense, to Carson Beck. Is there some stuff like that?
Shit, right.
Exactly. That's the stuff that Dale wants to pay attention to. I would even argue, you're good. There's no tower.
Sorry.
There's no tower. Then things like offensive linemen, are they blocking properly, especially the ones that are starting the game? Is the technique there, or are they slacking a little bit? Stuff like that. And that's the stuff you get early in camp, the preparation side of it, that you pay attention to out there. Let me ask you, because I asked you this last year, and I vaguely remember the response. A lot of people bet preseason NFL football, and it starts tonight. And people are probably clamoring, that the bettors are clamoring, going, football tonight.
Yes, they are, yes.
Do you do any preseason gambling out there?
Not really. And it's because I regard the preseason more as a tool for me to prepare. I'm really preparing now because I've already determined what teams I don't think are going to do well. And so what the preseason will do is perhaps dispel some of that per team, yes, maybe, but it might also encourage it based on injuries. I mean, I got guys at the VSIN network. Oh, yeah, we took some Atlanta futures. Are you mad?
Yeah.
And now look at them. They don't know who their quarterback is.
They don't have a quarterback.
They just lost a defensive player. Come on. This happens every year, people.
Yeah,
we
they
have
just
to
lost
be,
Walker. Yeah.
We have to be smarter than that. So I'm really looking at, we had 22 different coordinators this year in the NFL out of like 70 total jobs, including head coach. So there's all kinds of coaching turnover. There's so much for me to monitor that I don't. Now, the people that do, there's two kinds. There's the people that want the action, and they're going to bet the over or the under.
They just love the action,
team
right?
Or the red team. Okay, that's the populace over there. The guys that know what they're doing, that make money in the preseason, I just don't want to work that hard, are the ones that have been reading the newspaper in Carolina and Arizona. They know what quarterback's starting, what that meant when the line was out on Tuesday, Wednesday, when Beck was announced or whatever. And so it's really, I will say, preseason is so highly informational. That means if you're in every single day and you're going to spend a couple hours researching each team in the preseason, the coaches are going to tell you exactly what they want to do, which ones want to win, which ones are starting their third-string quarterback. You can ascertain great advantage by paying attention. I just don't. I do that starting week one, but not before.
Yeah, because it is fascinating. I mean, I know people that are just, they just love the action of, like, they just, like, if they have a night where they can't put money down, whatever amount, they can't put money down, they're like freaking out. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. And stuff like that. And so NFL comes, man, and they're just clamoring at the bit for that kickoff tonight.
It's like the running of the bulls, and they're about to open the gate.
It's like they don't even care. It's just like, I just need to get something in on this to get my NFL fix. and stuff like that. And God bless you if you're that way and stuff.
And
But
so-
I won't touch a preseason game to save my life on anything.
It depends how you're betting. If your favorite team's the Cardinals, you want action. That's one thing. If you're trying to win money and you're not studying, then you hate money.
Yeah, it is fascinating, the gambling on that. But there, if you don't mind, there's a couple teams I wanted to ask you about. You're doing your studies. And because I don't know what your opinion was, the Niners, when you went through the Warren Sharp stuff and everything. And my question on the Niners is because I am seriously questioning. Last year, they were one of, if not the most injured team in the NFL, one of the most injured teams, and they just kept winning. I'm questioning if you can do that 2 years in a row. Does it take your toll over time? And yesterday, for instance, they had 20 players out of practice yesterday due to injuries. Not guys that aren't going to make the team, 20 guys that are going to make this roster sat out practice yesterday, a week into camp. So the injury, Purcell's already out. They didn't get knee surgery last year. He's out for the season. They signed Debo. What does that do as you looking at the season as a whole on the Niners, just with the injuries already based off of last year, and your just thoughts on the continuation of the injury bug with that team?
Last year, the Niners were the second field goal luckiest team there was. So they had the highest percentage of field goals made against those that went against them. They were 28th in total health. And not only is that alarm, meaning they had the most injuries of anyone except for another 4 teams. What's alarming about that is the year before it was the same thing. In fact, they're now to the point where they're worried about the power lines in San Francisco screwing up these athletes because there's something there. 26th in turnover margin last year. Okay, so they got the fewest amount of turn. These are all regression items. They were number 3 in penalty luck, meaning they hardly had any penalties count against them. Offensive line rank 7. Front 7 rank 8. The issue with the Niners is a couple of, and they have the 8th easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. Yet they're in with Seattle and the Rams. And so Seattle, the Rams, and San Francisco are 3, I think, of the top 6 teams in the NFL, and they're all happening to be in one division. The injury to the head coach and the lack of information and the constipation in the news process surrounding that has me feeling a little incredulous. So I'm really on a wait. Yes, everything affects a team.
Oh, no, I'm big on that.
Why the press isn't all over it, and yet nobody's talking about it. That's when I really get nervous.
No, I'm big on it. I brought that up to you last week, and you weren't as incredulous like last week as I was.
No, because there wasn't evidence of.
I think this is a big deal.
Brushing under the rug of information.
This could affect. I brought it up last week. This could affect them later on in the season.
I don't see that
in a big moment. I know you don't, but
because
I'm
money says they'll just keep extending it and they'll get what they want that way.
But the injury. I mean, like you said, it's been the year before, last year's injuries. At some point, it just goes against you on injuries when you keep getting injuries. And so is this year the year?
No, it doesn't. It actually reverts. It can't keep going against you. Oh. And that's what I'm saying. By their health, my feel is all those players that are out, he's paranoid that they're going to get hurt. So he's telling them to go eat ice cream sundaes and stretch on
that's
the
what I said. That's the question.
He's the smartest head coach in the game.
That's why I wanted to ask you, because that's the question I have.
That's my opinion.
Wait closer to the regular season starts and see who's healthy and who's not.
It ain't just about health. There's way more things to look at.
Okay.
4 of their last 6 games of the season are on the road. Chargers,
big games.
Rams, Philly, and Arizona. And Arizona's going to be improved this year. Then December 6th, 13, and 17, at Giants, at Rams, at Chargers. Boom. And between Rams and Chargers, 4 days because they're coming off a Thursday night. Easily the most question. I really am incredulous about San Fran winning the division or getting over 10 or 10.5, but the head coach trumps that and makes me hesitate. The other thing that I don't like is Their travel's ridiculous. They open against the Rams in Melbourne, Australia. And so that's a home game for them. No, it isn't. That means that they have 10 road games, including a trip to Melbourne this year. So there's a lot tainted against the Niners. There's a lot tainted against Seattle, in my opinion. And so that's my breakdown of San Francisco. Have I given you any impetus to bet them either way? I don't know, because I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I think they're going to be good, and I think they're going to be very good based on what happens with this coach and how long he's out and if he's on crutches. I just want to see more there.
Yeah, I like I said, I have to be careful on this too, because I keep telling everybody, like, they're still going to be good, but are they going to be division and Super Bowl contender good? Is what I'm looking at for them. Basically, what I'm looking at is you go with the under on them on the season with these injuries happening right now. But I tend to agree with you. Wait till we get closer to the regular season. It's just you don't get how injured are they? 'Cause you don't get less injured as you get as you go through the season. So, but that's just an alarming thing, and it's starting to hit the airwaves now. I've been paying attention to it. And I'm starting to see some national people talking about the Niners' injuries so far in camp, the other things around the team. I'm seeing more and more people talk about that. And so
that's exactly when you know that they're on the wrong trail.
Okay.
When it's all over the airwaves, believe me, they're chasing their tail.
I thought I had something.
I require that kind of overreaction from the press. They see a guy and the trainer's clipping his toenail. Oh, sheesh, this guy's got a broken toe. Believe me, it's the thing in kindergarten. You told the gal next to you, "Hi, my mom's a redhead," and she told the next kid, and by the time it gets around, it's like, "Hey, my mom works at Dairy Queen." I mean, there's nothing out here that we can determine unless a quarterback goes down or monitoring major injuries. I'm talking about guy goes off a cart, they say he's an ACL and he's out for a season. That affects how you have to look at a team. We've had a few of those already. Let's hope there's no more, but there's gonna be.
Yeah.
And we just have to be patient.
Especially with games starting tonight.
So I'm ready to address other teams, but really San Francisco I have to respect because it's the smartest coach in the league, I think. And even though their schedule's brutal and their travel's brutal, they've overcome it in past years, and that's all Shanahan.
Yeah, and that's what worries me is, multiple years of overcoming it, and then eventually it's just like all of a sudden you win 2 games and you can't overcome it anymore, and you got to kind of revamp it. And they're not.
If I saw that, I wouldn't be stunned.
Next team I wanted to ask you about here, just as I'm just going through prepping on this, just kind of as the preseason's getting ready to kick off here. A lot of people are high on the Giants this year with a new head coach, experienced head coach with the Ravens. Obviously we know the talent that they have there and also the lack of talent that they have there. But new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new coaching staff as a general there as well. I'm seeing a lot of people favor this team and the national stuff, favoring them to possibly win that division over the Eagles and stuff to that effect. I'm a big coach guy, but I'm not high on Harbaugh at this point. Any thoughts on the Giants going into this? Because I'm seeing a lot of people here these last 3 or 4 days saying they could compete against the Eagles to win this division. And I'm not a big Harbaugh guy, so I think what he's done with the Ravens last 2 years.
I am a big Harbaugh guy, but it's him and Nagy and Denard Wilson coming in, and they're an absolute new regime, new culture. So you have to understand that to start with, just to lay the foundation. Last year, they had the most difficult schedule in the NFL. This year, it's the 8th most. But it'll seem easier because last year they had such a hard schedule. They have number 3, a +3 net rest advantage on their schedule. That's the top half of the NFL, so that doesn't hurt them. The offensive line rank being 20 is concerning to me, although they addressed some of that in the draft and in the offseason. Their schedule looks very manageable as far as days and where their division games happen to land. Overall, the talent in New York is, on offense especially, is strong. And their front 7 ranked 17. So I think it's a competitive NFC team immediately in a division where I think that Dallas, I see Dallas, Washington, and Philly all vying for the top.
Yeah, and that's actually the hardest division as I'm going through all my stuff and get ready to make my picks. The NFC East is the hardest division for me to figure out here because Commanders and part of it is Cowboys. Second year for this coaching staff, everything second year for this team as well. But then Giants, all new coaching staff, new regime. Commanders, new offensive and defensive coordinators coming into that team. How's their quarterback going to be? And to me, that's the hardest division, at least going into this season in football, to kind of pick and predict out there because you're seeing it. You're seeing it if you're watching national news. You're seeing a lot of people say Commanders can compete, Cowboys can compete for a win and stuff for the division and stuff to that effect. So that division's just stymieing the heck out of me.
Yeah, right now they all can compete. I think Dallas. You have to understand what kind of offense they set up to have. And it's good that they're going to have that because they're coming off with the Cardinals, one of the most epically poor performances on defense over the course of a whole season that any team in the NFL's ever undertaken. So Dallas has so much work to do on defense that in 1 year with what they've done, I don't think they can get that done. Couple defensive linemen myself. And I think they're going to have to score 40 to win games, and I think that's what they plan on doing. And the rest of that, I see Philly as being able to score points, but having D. Washington's got some questions. They've got, that guy's he's a defensive coach, and his defense has stunk the last couple of years. Yeah. So there's Dan Quinn. And I think the Giants have room to grow.
Yeah, it's an interesting division. Last thing I want to ask you about today, of course, we're going to be going over this during the preseason time is strictly the Lions here as well. Here's my question on the Lions. Of course, they lost their offensive and defensive coordinators, two really good guys, best in the league last year, and they got two new guys they promoted from within. Didn't work out for them offensively or defensively. Finished fourth in that division. Went out and got a new offensive coordinator, the cat from Arizona here, and then a new defensive coordinator this year as well. I'm not necessarily. I think Dan Campbell is great for morale and as great as a head coach, but he can only go as far as his coordinators can get him. If it's a struggle early with a new offensive and defensive coordinator, is it doomed for the Lions, or what's your outlook on their season? With again, second year in a row now of new offensive coordinator, new offensive system in there, and defense.
Yeah, defensive coordinator Kevin Shepard. This is his second year.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, he was there. You're right. You are correct. But the offensive coordinator changed. Yeah.
How about this? Here's a team last year had the 11th most difficult schedule of the NFL. This year, easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. Last year, second most injured team, 32nd in fumble luck, 30th in field goal luck, 30th in net penalty EPA, 91 over 41. 3 to 5. They were 3-5 in one score games. All of those are unusually against a team that can't happen again, that are going to regress or are liable to regress. And I want to track that because I believe in that, or I wouldn't be tracking it. Got a great offensive line, ranked 13th, and they've got, what do we got here? Ragnow retires, but they bring in Zeitler as a center in free agent to replace him. I don't know if that's center or guard, but they replace him. Front seven ranked 9th. You got to watch the offensive line. They got 3 dome games only. They're a dome team, and they only play 3 games outdoors all year. Detroit, very favorable. +1 net rest. Play 6 teams projected to have a winning record. And 3 teams projected to have 10+ wins. So their schedule's very manageable. They've got a new regime, and I think a lot of regression coming back. That division, NFC North, is also a division that I could see every team be 9-8 or 10-6. Every single, maybe not the Pack. I think the Pack falls, and the other 3 are here.
Okay, really? Yeah, we'll talk about. I have Packers and Vikings questions as well. We'll get into those here over the next couple of weeks here. But yeah, just a team that has a second offensive coordinator. In 2 years, you're running into offensive systems changes and things to that effect. They have a ton of talent there. Don't get me wrong, but but that is kind of a benefit with how much they struggled last year, fourth place schedule. By the way, a lot of their hard games are just their division. Other than that, when they get outside of their division, they get into kind of like an easier, softer schedule because of that. Like they play the Cardinals this year, for instance, for them as well. Last general football question. It pertains to the Buccaneers, but it's a general one. Teams that have multiple questions on contracts going into the season. Obviously, their defensive lineman is holding out, wants to be traded. They say there's no plan to deal him. Baker Mayfield said once training camp starts, there's no more negotiation. If you have multiple players concerned about their contracts, does that change your opinion on a team going into the season?
Never. No, I don't give two hoots who's in or who ain't in. It's business, and neither do the coaches. The only ones that do are the fans. So what you do is you just wait, because they're either going to get signed or they're not. And if Baker doesn't play, we'll know that before the first game of the season. If he gets his extension, which is probably going to happen, then we'll know that. And everybody's going to be huggy and kissy, and we're going to wonder what the hell we were chasing our tail for 3 weeks over here. So just let it be. Let it, as the Beatles saying, let it be. Just let it come. Don't overreact to what you're seeing. The press has to, so they got to vomit bile at us the whole time. And that's what leads to overreaction, which is what I'm looking for, because when I can find enough of it, I'll simply go the other way, which is my whole week one foundation every year, and we'll talk about it as we get close to week one.
And Lou, that's why I love having you on here. Whether you at home are gambler, whether you're not a gambler, we've got our fan perspectives, we got our media perspective and stuff like that. And then Lou, you just blow it out of the water with some out there other perspective, and you're right a lot as well. So it'll allow you to talk to your friends, family, water cooler talk at work, with your bosses and your friends there, and have friendly competitions and stuff like that. The knowledge is what's going to get you there as well.
My favorite saying is, when you go out, I'll arm you with stuff that you go to the water cooler with and tell your buddies. And when they leave the room laughing, you got yourself a winner.
That is your saying there for football season.
You got yourself a winner, baby. Because everybody.
Hey, Lou, we failed to do your intro here. I know it's an Apex, but just while we're going to break here, just tell everybody where they can find you, and your website, and more importantly, your podcast.
Gamblu.com. Anything about me can be found there. Steve's good enough to have me every week. I do a blog once a week that I keep wanting to do more of, but I'm busy. The top band tells you anything you want to know about me that you could ask. And then if you scroll down, as Ethan was doing, the podcast, I do 2 a week. One is a sneak teep. It's an opening line report at any of the fights each week that have line movement. I report on a 7 or 8 minute podcast. And then on Fridays, my final releases come out on an 8 or 9 minute podcast. And those are the final releases for the week. Last week, we had a really sensational week with one fighter. We bet him 3 ways. It went well. And we're hoping to keep the momentum going, because we have another 5 or 6 events in a row right here through the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, just plug San Xavier Mission real quick here again for me, because that's the only reason I have you on, Lou.
That's right. And really, San Xavier Mission gets a prominent position in our webpage because it's indigenous to Arizona. It's the oldest mission in the country. Built in the late 1600s. They're doing great work down there. I'm a contributor to the mission, and always encourage others to consider it if they can. There's a link right there that Ethan's showing us. You can hit that and go right there. You don't have to run nothing through me. And the consideration is great, and Steve lets me mention it every week, so thank you.
Yeah, I think it's super important, especially in the industry that you work in. To give back and support, especially the way the world's going right now, economies, etc. If it's not that place, find another one out there to support.
Well, if I was in the widget industry, I'd be doing the same thing. It's just that I'm not good at widgets.
Fun stuff out there, folks. Of course, this week's at the Apex. We'll talk about last week, a couple fights when we come back here, Lou, and then we'll get into this weekend as well, back in Las Vegas. So the morning fights are over here for a couple weeks. We have to get back to late night Saturday night fights coming up. So come back and join us here, folks, with Uncle Lou here on the Main Event. And we're back here, Main Event. with Uncle Lou. We just got done having some fun NFL talk with the Hall of Fame game tonight and giving some insight on some teams and kind of how to look at them here through the preseason, like the Niners, for instance. So if you're just joining us now, go back and watch that segment as well, kind of give you on that. Just really quick, Robert does say, not down on them, meaning the Diamondbacks. He goes, just critical. I'm more concerned on how they play. Results are results. Because you said we're critical.
Right.
Lou's
so,
telling us we're bad critical.
well, all I'd say to that is to put up a picture of a scoreboard, because what's their record, by the way?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it speaks for
you're,
me.
You're right when it comes. That's the funny thing to do is after they have a bad game, you come in here and then you got to remind yourself, man, they're still in second place in the wild card. They're still good. Instead of ripping them apart, it is kind of a fun dynamic.
And I think they begin to differentiate themselves as the closer they go, for a couple reasons, but mainly the manager. And the second mainly is the players that were on that team a few years ago when they made the run. They didn't forget how to do it.
Absolutely. So, and I know you're high on the diamond. That's why I love having you in here, because we think differently about them. But I'm telling you, better make the playoffs now with where you're standing.
If I had the under on them, I would be scared to death right now. I'm happier to be where I am holding them, and we'll see. There's how much? What do we got left
40,
as far as games?
I can't remember now. 42 or 43, something in that range.
Right. So when you start to do a straight line, meaning you take their win percentage time 162, and you get the amount of games, you've got a good idea as to where most teams are probably going to end up, unless you pull a hammy and go 0 for 10 or run off 11 in one spot.
I mean, I picked them to go over their season total number at the beginning of the. I don't remember what it was. It was a few games above 500.
Yeah, I'm going to say 84.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
That. It was a tough number.
And the reason why I went under was I was like, they'll go at least 500, and it was a couple of games above it. So I'm like, they'll be right at that number. Was what I was thinking. So even though we have to pick them apart, Lou, I still support them.
Well, at the end of the day, their performance is not going to be dependent on what the heck we say about it.
Well, that's 100% correct. Hey, last week the UFC was at Belgrade there in Serbia. It was a morning UFC fight, which I just can't get enough of here as well.
Agree.
Couple questions for you on this fight as well. In the main card, your buddy Sipo here against Urbina. Sipo was a big favorite going into this fight. I don't know what it closed at, but I know at one point he was minus 300 or something of that range going into that fight. Man, he lost that fight. First round, 1 minute, 1 second into it, a KO by Urbina here in this fight. It's your thoughts there on Urbina and or Sipo here in this fight.
Yeah, well, we picked one that I had Sipo in a parlay on from the webpage. So clearly I judged him wrong. It was more a fade of Gil Urbina than it was Sipo, but Urbina, who went from 70 to 85, looked good. I thought it would be a disaster move. It wasn't a disaster move. He looks good. He KOs him in round 1. I lose my parlay. I learn a little bit, and we move on to the next fights.
Absolutely. From that interesting card here in Belgrade, wasn't it the most fights? Finishes in a fight card. What was it, 9 total, I think is what it ended up being. I mean, this was I'll say it's a fast card is what I would call it in these fights. I enjoyed it a lot. And then you get up here, to the main event. Well, Tybura first, I wanted to just ask about. Ended up being a 3rd round decision here for Rakic here in this heavyweight bout. In this fight here, I don't tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but I thought you were favoring Tybura, or you thought Tybura had a chance in this fight, or am I misremembering on this?
Well, first of all, he's 6 years older at 40. I wouldn't have bet him.
Okay.
And I didn't know. I don't, that wasn't a fight we were really targeting. Yeah. I released 2 fights the day of the fight card. However, I used Twitter. One was on the undercard, Oban Elliott against Michael Oliveira for a half a unit, and Michael Oliveira put out a nice precision straight jab and dropped my kid. That was the end of that fight.
Quickly,
so we lose a half a unit there really quick, and then the other one was this kid Valentin that was taking on the Serbian Todorovic. He's actually from Montenegro. And we had to pay $150 or so for him, but we used a whole unit on him, and he won quite easily.
Submission. Yeah.
That one I liked all week long. I was just kind of keeping quiet because the money was coming in on Todorovic the whole time, which seemed odd to me, but it is what it is, and we we squeaked that one out. So
Yeah.
those were fun.
Yeah, and I was asking about the Tibura one because for some reason I wrote down Tibura on my notes from last week when you talked, but I of course didn't go back and listen. But my big thing on that was, unanimous decision here in that heavyweight, and the Rakic ended up being like a 400, and I might be confusing that with
he was a big favorite that.
And I might be confusing that with the Oliveira where you put that out on Twitter. I had Oliveira in that fight. I had his number to finish. It was a better number than the minus 380.
Yeah.
But then I saw your one, and I was like, I'll throw 5 on Elliott off of Lou, because if that hits, then obviously I'm making up anything I would have lost on the other side. I started playing that. That's where I first played it that way in my thought process that you, of course, have taught me here, Lou, as well.
Well, the next time you do that, you take the favorite to win, but you take the underdog plus the 3.5.
Yeah.
You hope the favorite wins a close decision, because then your favorite wins and your 3.5 wins.
So that might be what I'm confusing Tibura with. But Navajo Sterling, short fight short call up for him in this fight. And man, did he walk in there and just, in my opinion, dominated that thing.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
More impressive because it was short timing, or more impressive that he had to travel across the world to Serbia? What was most impressive about Sterling's
that he knocked
performance?
Blachowicz out in one round.
Yeah, 256 into that round as well. Then you got the main event. No,
wait, you're missing a fight.
Oh, I am. Well, which one am I missing? This UFC fight. This US card.
He can't wait to start with the most embarrassing fight I've released in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But yet the best fight that I've released,
the one you nailed
in 5 weeks, is Musayev against Ludovic Klein, and the world was on Ludovic Klein. Klein went from minus 130 to minus 265. So we took our boy Musayev not only plus 2.25, we took him plus 465 inside the distance, and we took him plus the 3.5 minus 110. So that was a windfall on Mr. Musayev. And I'll tell you something, you can't be stubborn when you're doing this. And the week before, I had taken Mike Davis and just laid a ostrich egg. It was such a terrible fight. And that's what this was completely set up to be. The world, every handicapper I know was on this other kid, Klein, who I just didn't see as viable, especially given Musayev's size. Well, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while. I get one right, and it gives you confidence that you should keep on the path of what you're doing. When I tell young handicappers, do your own work, no matter how bright the day is or dark the night is, just keep doing your own work and trust your own process, and you're going to end up in the long run good.
And it is funny, as I was going back through my notes last night and organizing this for your section, I completely left that fight off. And I even went with your bet on that.
He had Sipo right at the front, though, with the living colors. Sipo, let's talk about him.
I had that since the fight happened. I was like, I talked to him about that. Yeah. So that's why I'm laughing so hard while you're talking.
And thank God I use him in a parlay. Cost me a unit. Because what is he, minus 4 units or something? What do you? I'm not that stupid.
But that wasn't. I love when you nail those ones against everybody. It is impressive to sit there and watch and see it happen out there.
More. I mean, if I could use about 2 of those every card and just be so dominant that everybody would bow to me. But I've never been that good. I want to be, but I just never been able to do it.
Yeah, you've had a couple that I've gotten this year with you where you were plus, plus 400, something like that. And
when you bet dogs like I do, you go 42%, 43.4%. You're going to have a great year.
Yeah. The last fight here as well that,
there we go. Now I'll let you get to the
Well, now I got to give you credit for this one as well, because you said stay away from Rodriguez on this one. You talked about and that was the whole lead up to this fight was his 8 months in the Mexican prison and how he was training in there. And I'm watching that going, there's no way, even with what he did in the Mexican prison, I was like, there's no way he's prepared and in that type of fight shape watching that. Round 1, 30 seconds. My question more on this is Medik here going in there, just doing his business, not messing around on it. Obviously from Serbia, home country, wanted the fight there. He is a guy that is to watch in the UFC. They think highly of him. Obviously, it doesn't change anybody's opinion of him, but do you expect him to maybe get a bigger fight coming up here because of this performance, or is it he's just going to continue along the same path?
No, he's barking for better
He
fights,
is,
and he
yeah.
won a main event, and so they're going to step him up next time. And depending on the circumstances, he's an absolute fade.
Perfect. That's what I was asking about. Okay, you learned nothing from that fight, going in there and just destroying
Nothing.
Rodriguez in that
Nothing.
30 seconds. And,
Everything solved its purpose. The UFC got what it wanted,
Yeah.
a spectacular finish in short time in Serbia where they're trying to grow. They got momentum for the younger guy against a 39-year-old guy they don't really like. And when we get to this week's main event, it's somewhat similar. A young guy against an old guy they'd love to see have to retire eventually.
Okay.
And so Medic goes away with all this recency. Everyone thinks he's a world beater. Let's see who they give him next, where it is, and we'll talk then.
Yeah, perfect. That was okay. We answer the question. That's why I asked those hard hitting questions there to kind of get that side. This week we're back at the Apex in Las Vegas. 5 p.m. main card here this weekend on Saturday. You're going to start seeing these earlier start times a little bit on these Apex fights. I'm assuming it's because of college football.
No, they're what? It's
Well,
2 p.m., right?
Well, before it used to be 6 p.m. for the main card, and the last couple of weeks they've moved the Apex fights. Last couple of them, they moved them down to 5 p.m.
I think that's just because there's been fewer prelim cards.
Well, that's what I mean. Lesser
the prelims
fights and
have
stuff.
started
Okay.
at 2.
I attributed that to football starting, and you want to get out of the main. You want to get out of the main prime time type fights. But you're right, lesser fights on these Apex cards
when
lately.
they have a numbered event that's coming up,
That's a numbered events will go as normal. Yeah, 3:30 is coming up as well. But this fight here in the Apex, normally, Lou, I look at an Apex card and I go, whatever. Couple fights on there that I noticed the fighters, and of course, before going in and watch it, kind of how I am here on these prelim fights. There's a lot of shadowed pictures in this fight for the prelims. Tell us which prelim, meaning they're additions, new fighters, something to that effect is usually what that means. Tell us in the prelims which fights we should tune into.
Yeah, because this was 9 fights up until like Friday a week ago or Saturday, and they found 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 they found are Rosas against Johns, which will be waged at 145. Both guys 135ers, but in order to make weight and get on the card, they agreed to 145. Rosas is is the younger brother of Raul Rosas, who fights already in the UFC, a popular Mexican fighter, and he's the older brother, I should say. And he's going to come in from Mexico, but he's raw, but he's a sub guy. And he's going to take on Miles Johns. Miles Johns has some UFC experience, but he's lost his last 3. That fight was one of the ones they just threw together. Lines are out, and Johns is a modest favorite, but it's a watch.
Minus 162, just for people to know. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the next one is Souza against Miranda. Now, this one will be one of the early fights, but this is a fight you want to watch because these 2 guys are going to get it on. Miranda's tough and durable. Comes in from LFA. Souza 1-0 in the UFC, beat a guy named Oki who's capable. This should be really a war with 2 power strikers. And Souza's a huge favorite, but Miranda never been finished. So I don't know if I'm going to maybe look at some points with Miranda because I believe it goes to decision, or bet it to go to decision. I'll have to shop around. Then let's go.
Well, really quick, minus 305 for Sousa in this. Going to your next point, because I noticed this over under on this fight's right now at 1.5.
Yeah.
Minus 238 to the over here as well.
Right.
So that was something I wanted to bring up to you, and you kind of addressed it right there.
Yeah. Well,
to look at.
You don't take that. You take it over 2.5, or you take it to go to decision, and you get rid of that terrible number.
Yeah, that's a bad number. Go ahead with the next one, Lou, on the prelims.
The rest of them are really dog meat. You got a 42-year-old Darren the Damage Elkin, and the damage has already been done to him, but he's tough and willing and going to give it his all. This will be his last fight. Fighting against a guy in Cuban Devalle that's primarily a submission guy, and he lost to Jordan Levitt in his last fight. Elkins is, what, plus 500?
Yeah, it's a big favorite.
We might be playing some kind of game with Elkins. Even though he's 42, he's taller. He's got way more experience, and we've won money on Devaya before.
I'm sorry, 575 right now.
Yeah,
is what
might be time to take a look at the damage, and then the real main fight on the undercard is the heavyweight fight between Guilherme Pat, the Brazilian that comes in via travel, has to fight this Asplund dude.
Okay.
Asplund is a guy that was walking around at 3:30 and didn't have much of a life, and he got motivated, got to the gym, weighs 264 now, but his skin hangs off of him. He looks very he looks like somebody that you would want to make fun of, but I would warn you that that's the last thing you want to do with this here dude. He's a bad hombre, and he went out in his last fight against Victor Petrino.
Yeah, I remember that
and
fight.
we took him, and he got pulverized. So coming off a loss, I think he's going to be sharper and better. And Guillermo Pat is just a big, huge marble statue, and I think they're going to stand there and get it on. This should be a great fight.
Minus 290 right now for Asplund in this fight. Over under 1.5. Minus 215 to the over in this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, you might want to.
You have to worry about cardio in this one if it goes late into that second round, into the third.
Two big polar bears going to be leaning on each other.
Because if I remember right, Asplund, it might not have been his last fight. It might have been the one before. But I do remember him leaning at one point to where it was just, tired swings there.
No,
he's
mostly knocked dudes out.
Okay.
He's an aggressive dude with a lot of power, and he's going to be looking to knock this dude out, too.
Okay,
so
perfect. So those are the numbers on that.
You might take Asplund inside the distance. We'll have to see. I could go over, too, but I see Asplund one way or another.
And those are your prelim fights. Let's get into that main event here. Starts off welterweight bout. Billy Ray Goff, Ty Miller here battling it out. Ty Miller's a minus 400 favorite, Lou.
Yeah, and he's long and tall, and he's going to have 5-inch reach, 4 inches of height. He's just going to be picking down at the incoming Goff. Goff's been inactive, although he's durable and tough, which makes for a decision fight for Miller.
Yeah, that's what's interesting that you say that, because over under on this one's 1.5 as well. Minus 210 to the over type of a situation. I'm surprised at 1.5 we're seeing on some decision type fights that at least that you're commenting on coming into that. Now, next up we have a women's strawweight fight here. Lemos in Thonaraya. Is this sandwich time, Lou, or are we paying attention to this?
No, we're paying attention because Lemos is someone I released on the digital magazine at better like 215 or so. She's a big underdog, but she's 39
plus 215 right now,
and 11 years older than the Brazilian. The Brazilian is very young, level of competition very low. Hasn't fought anywhere near the kind of quality Lemos has. Lemos has fought the elite for years in this division, and if she loses Lemos, she's pretty much done. So this is going to be a desperate fight. We're going to get her best effort against a gal that I think is just too much too soon in Thainara. And we're going to use Lemos here at plus 215 and trust that she can maintain distance, keep Thainara on the outside, and knock her out.
I was gonna say, are you looking? That's what I was just going to ask. Are you looking for a finish in this fight or a decision?
Because I'm taking the underdog, sure, I'd take it with the first punch, but it's probably going to decision.
Okay.
And at 2.5 minus 200 to the over, I like the over. I like Lemos decision, and we may play a game with Lemos decision, and Lemos points. We'll see.
Perfect for that fight here. And my site's all messed up here. Did we already talk about the Elkins fight?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to say, you said plus 570. I'm sorry, minus 850 for Del Valley.
Yeah, and you said plus 575 for Elkins, and that's too much. That isn't representative of their skills.
Sorry, my screen that I use is all messed up.
Your screen sounds like your mind is all
It has that
polluted.
fight out of order, Lou, is what that has. And I was
wonder, you got a margarita over there or something? What's going on?
I don't know why it has a fight like clear up at the top, past the main event one. I'm like, that's not the main event one. Why is that so high up there? Lightweight bout, Diego. Nobody at home cares about my problems. Diego Ferreira and Billy Quarantillo here in the lightweight bout. Right now, Ferreira is a minus 170 favorite going into this fight.
Yeah, this is the co-main event. Now, here's one that's lined 1.5 with an under minus 140 or 145. So you got
2.5 right now, minus 185 to the under.
Oh, beautiful, which means there's 1.5s and 2.5s out there. And so what I would do, I would look at that 2.5 and go under. I see a 2.5 under 200. I see a 2.5 under minus 170. I see 1.5 over minus 145.
Really? Okay.
That 1.5 I think's the better number because these two dudes going to go out there and wail. This is Billy Q's first fight in about a year and a half. He took some time off, but he's also going up from 45 to 55, and he's big, long, tall. He'll be the taller, longer man. And at 39, he'll also be the younger man in the fight because he's fighting. He's 37 and Ferreira's 41, but Ferreira is still a vicious fighter. And for the first round and a half, this is going to be a wicked fight. One of them's going to connect with the other. I don't know who's going to knock who out, but I like the dog price. I like the dog. I like him at 155. I might take a little stab at him.
At plus 142 right now, and I use DraftKings on the show for you guys to know at home. So this is Thursday morning on DraftKings are the numbers that I'm reading off for everybody out there, just so you know. Out there as well. Then you got the main card, Gamrot and Salkeeld this weekend. Salkeeld is a minus 145 favorite going into this fight. Minus 142 technically right now on DraftKings. Over under 3.5. The overs minus 125. 135 to the over right now as well into this bout. Lightweight fight here for the main card.
Yeah, so again, here's a fight with 3.5s and 4.5s. And I might do something with that this week. Saul killed Gamrot. Gamrot is he's going to be the shorter fighter by 2 inches. He's 11 years the older man, and he's a lefty, but he's going to be giving away 5 inches of reach and 3 inches of leg reach to this Saul killed. Gamrot's a Polish vice grip wrestler, and he's very good. He's unrelenting, but he can be chinny. And to wrestlers, striking and strike defense is their least intuitive response in mixed martial arts or trait in mixed martial arts. And so that's true with Gamrot, though he can strike. Saul killed again, very, very much younger, but he makes a huge step up in class of opponent. And is he ready for it? Well, he's 11 years younger. He's longer, taller. He's got power in his hands. And he believes he's ready for this fight. I do know that this is the typical kind of fight that the UFC would love to see Saul Killed win. He's an Aussie. They can promote him in that area. It would be perfect for them. He's 26, the old wrestler that's going to take you down and present a boring fight, though that works great for guys named Aliyev in Abu Dhabi. That doesn't work anywhere else, and they don't want it here. So any kind of close something, we got to be aware that, Saul Killed makes some sense. And when you're going to get a kid 11 years younger, which represents 70 or 72% win percentage when you're that much younger than the opponent, you got to take him. And I look at the price I'm paying, -1. I see minus 142 out there. I see a minus 144 out there, 145 at Circa. I think you got to take a look at Saul Killed here. I don't know that I'll take him in that minus capability. Do I parlay him? Do I look at points? I don't know what or method of victory. I don't know yet, but I'll know Friday on the Bout Business podcast.
Absolutely. That's why you tune in. That comes out after the weigh-ins, 11 o'clock-ish.
Yes, and so that's the weigh-ins will be 9 to 11 PST. Yeah. So by noon Pacific, the podcast.
So check that. I always try to retweet it out on the main event page. So if you're following us there as well, when I do see it from that side as well. So big fight on the Apex here this weekend. I just wanted to update everybody here really quick and everything. Because, we have a few fights coming up, right? They go to Philadelphia after that, Sacramento. But here in the Phoenix area where we record this show at here and everything, we do have a fight coming here to Desert Diamond Arena. They've released a few more fights for this. September 12th. Ethan's question is that a fight you're interested in going to at all, or would you rather watch it at home because it is local?
Yeah, I have been to numerous UFC events as a spectator. I've been to numerous UFC events as a press-credentialed press member. And honestly, I don't want the heat, the parking, the crowds, and the brain damage. Plus, I'm on a computer and often betting live or in between rounds during these fights. Especially during football season, it's more prudent for me to be in my office than go to the fights. However, if anyone ever decides to go to the fights, it's critical that you know where to sit. That sounds funny, but if you get behind a stanchion, you're done.
Yeah.
And if you get ground level, you're paying too much for no perspective. You end up watching the TV. So if you ever go, you send me an email and I'll tell you where to sit.
Yeah, it's coming up. Desert Diamond. Last week, I told you, they just had the card. At that time.
Is that Oliveira and Sarukian?
It's Rodriguez and Silva. Is who they added onto that fight.
Oh, that's
but it's got Acosta and Blades. That's what I told everybody last week. They only had a couple fights in that.
It has who? It's Cortez Acosta fights here,
and then Blades as well in this fight.
That's a good.
That was last week, but they added Rodriguez and Silva this week
as
on top of it. And
Silva's that Brazilian Barker, and Rodriguez, long, tall Mexican. That's going to be well represented here. That's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, Dan Ige is in this fight. Ige against David Martinez. I'm always going to screw that.
And
name
Martinez.
Up.
A Mexican fighter. He'll have the crowd.
Tim Elliott, he's a local fighter?
No, he fights out of Kansas City. He's a little bit of a coal miner,
For some reason I thought, but he's got Edgar Chairez in this fight.
And again, another Mexican against somebody shipping in. That's going to be a great
So
fight.
they're giving us more and more names onto this fight and everything. So, when I saw Rodriguez Silva, I was like, wait, what? That might be something I might need to go attend
Elliott
to.
Chairez. That's going to be a great clash. Elliott's going to want to clasp him and roll him on the ground, and Chairez going to want to – he's a Mexican fighter, long, lanky, and he's got some power in his hands. That'll be a great fight.
Yeah, so we're a month away or so on that, but that is actually a good question. Is that going to go to that? But they're adding people to that. We'll keep you tuned on that. And also Saturday, September 12th, 2 p.m. our time here as well. So for the main card to start here as well out there in Glendale at Desert Diamond Arena.
For
so
the
not
main
a late
card
the main card starts at 2 p.m.
So the
Noche
prelims
UFC.
are like 11?
I'll get you that time here. Oh, they don't even have it listed yet. That's how they're literally just throwing bouts out there.
That means they're avoiding Penn
football.
State and Ohio State at 6 o'clock or something.
The football
like that.
there, and I wonder also with the the Noche, so Mexican time frames that there weren't thinking about that kind of also. But
that's even earlier than us because Mexico's.
Oh, you know what? Well.
No, you know what? Geography, sometimes they're in the central time zone, so that may work.
Yeah, so that's coming up. I wanted to update everybody on that because when I saw that card go in there, or that fight go in there, I was like, ooh.
That's going to be a whale of a fight card. I don't look that far ahead because
I know you
I'm
don't.
just trying to.
What for you is just more of they're adding those fights and it's a local.
I don't even know where they are next week. Next week, I think, is 3:30 in L.A., I think.
No, it's isn't that the Pennsylvania one here? I'll tell you right here. Philadelphia, 6 p.m. in Philadelphia next Saturday. 6 p.m. is the main card.
What's the event called?
I'm sorry. That is UFC 3:30. Yeah, next week.
And it's from Philly.
Philly, yeah.
And what's the main event?
That's Makachev and
Gary.
Yeah, Gary. For that one as well. Then we get your boy, the RoboCop, the fight after that in Sacramento. Rodriguez there. Against Hernandez.
That's a fascinating, a big, huge, strong, physical power striker, grappler against a nimble, thin, coming off a loss, dangerous grappler striker himself. RoboCop will have the power advantage, and Hernandez will have the cardio and quickness advantage. Should be an unbelievable fight.
Folks, he just named that 2 fights away from now. He named the 2 fighters and gave you the description of them off the top of his head. And that's why we call him Uncle Lou, folks, as well. Lou, appreciate you joining us here today, as always. Next Thursday,
thanks for having me.
More NFL talk, of course, UFC as well. So come and join us live on YouTube, TME Media AZ. And, of course, catch us on demand or on your podcast stations as well, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. 8 a.m. is where you find us here at the main event. Let's have some fun here on a Thursday night Hall of Fame game. Enjoy preseason football as much as you can, folks. See you later.